What's up, everyone? I'm C.O. Connolly, and today I'm going to talk about things that people have said to me as a horror writer. Okay? Not so much as just a writer, but as a horror writer. Horror. Gotta make sure I get that out of there, not a horror writer. Let me. Anyway, horror writer. I can say that most of it is slasher. I'm not really so much thriller, maybe, I guess, in a way. Most of it's slasher. They're just chopping people up. It's mostly dismemberment and disemboweling, so slasher. Yeah, with a lot of different weapons. Anyway, Killer Suburbia, though, I do have some guy who gets, choked with a garrote, but then he gets dismembered. Anyway. Oh, nice to be talking about in the first minute of my video. Hey guys, I'm a writer. I write about creepy shit. Anyway, so one of the things that someone has said to me as being just a writer, when I tell people that, oh, I'm a writer. Oh, what do you write? That's my first thing. My husband's always said, why don't you tell people you're an author? Because that's different. I've never seen it as being different. I just assume that if you write, you're a writer. Like, it doesn't matter if you write blogs or write books, you're a writer, right? But I guess I should start telling people I'm an author because they always ask, oh, what do you write? Fiction books. But if I say I'm an author, then that makes more sense, right? So they don't have to say, oh, what do you write? They usually say, what are your books about? So anyway, I've had people say, oh, what do you write? And then they give me weird looks when I tell them that I write slashers and, serial killer books. Of course, I have to make sure that I admit that they are serial killers. But when I say serial killers, oh, is that true crime? No, it's fiction. I make up my own. Killers. Using real killers from society. But anyway, I've had people ask me, are you okay? I'm fine. What do you mean, am I okay? It's my therapy. This is my therapy. It is very therapeutic to murder people. Chop them up. Grind them into meat. Roadkill Cafe, coming soon. Next year, 2025. But anyway, it's therapeutic. It's very nice. I'm doing great. I am perfect. I am always positive. But it's always because of the fact that I am happy with my life. I get to write things like this, and it's crazy because when people ask me if I'm okay, I'm always like, why are they asking me that? Like, I don't get it. But it's because there are people out there who prefer like romance novels. Okay. Not my cup of tea. I have no problem reading Fade to Black. Like if it is an implied sex scene, but not something where I want to listen to someone describe the heaving of her breasts. Okay, first of all, stop. Okay? That is another question I've been asked too. When I tell people I write fiction, they go, oh, do you write romance? No. And I always do it with that face. And I'm sorry to anyone who does write romance. My bad. I'm sorry. I can't get into it. Like I read it so I have actually read one romance novel. Back when I was in, I don't know if it was junior high or high school. I don't know. I had a friend who gave me a book and she's like, oh, my mom's letting me read this book, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So I read the book. I was into Christopher Pike. Okay. I preferred Christopher Pike books. oh my God, I cannot think of what his name is right now. The guy who writes Goosebumps. I liked those books. Okay. I also used to read The Babysitter's Club and V.C. Andrews. Okay. I've read a lot of James Patterson, Stephen King, things like that. But back in junior high, I was really into Christopher Pike. And my mom used to tell me all the time, no, you cannot read those books because she knew what Christopher Pike wrote. She was like, no, that's inappropriate. You cannot read that. So I kept them in my locker at school. Sorry, Mom. But I did have a friend who had me read a romance novel. She's like, oh my God, you got to read this novel. It makes you feel weird on the inside. Well, of course, back then in junior high, you're not really thinking about that. Oh, it makes you feel weird on the inside. I'm like, okay. I read it and I was like, this is disgusting. This is absolutely gross. It's gross. I don't want to have anything to do with this, but that's just how I feel. Extreme descriptions of certain things. If I really wanted it that bad, I would watch a movie that depicted all of that. Not read it in a book, because in a book, that's not where I want to go. I like to go into my therapy session and chop people up. Heck, I am reading the Dexter series. Dexter, the TV show. I've been wanting to get those books forever. Yes, I have read some J.R.R. Tolkien. I have read some Tolkien. Okay. Not my thing. I don't really care for fantasy either. I used to read Harry Potter to my son. Okay. So I would read him. That was his bedtime story. I would read one chapter of Harry Potter to my son. Okay. And it may sound funny. It may sound weird, but my son learned to read when he was 3. And I'm not going to apologize for that. And it's because of the fact that when he was a year old, or before he was a year old, I read all of the Dr. Seuss books to him. I would read those books and I would point at each word as I read them. Did he have any idea what was going on? Probably not. But by the time he was a year old, I moved up to where it was other books. So by the time he was 2, I was reading chapter books to him. He learned to read by the time he was 3. So by the time I was on the 4th book of Harry Potter, my son decided that I read too slow and he wanted to finish them by himself. So there's that. But that was his bedtime story. I read one chapter of Harry Potter to him from the time that he was 2 years old. And then when he was 4, he decided he wanted to read them himself. So whatever. Okay, fine. Anyway, but that's my thing though, is that, I don't read fantasy. I don't really care for fantasy. But people have always said to me, oh, I don't understand. Don't understand what? You don't understand why I won't read romance. You don't understand why I won't read fantasy. You don't understand why I won't write that stuff. You don't understand that I won't write what supposedly is popular right now. Yes, fantasy does seem to be the popular trend. Romance does seem to be the popular trend when it comes to writing books. J.D. Robb is Nora Roberts. She started out as J.D. Robb writing romance novels. And when she got herself her reader base and a bunch of people who would read her books, she moved on to put her real name, Nora Roberts, onto her books. And that's what she got. Stephen King. Stephen King's first name, Richard Bachman. Stephen King used to publish under Richard Bachman. Eventually, he did republish those books under Stephen King, but initially, his first books were published under Richard Bachman. These are the ways that they have published other things because they didn't know if they would be recognized. And they've done it. And that's just how it works, right? If they decide, okay, well, this isn't working for me, then I'm going to move on to something else. I'm not going to do that. I like cutting people up. I like writing about cutting people. I like writing about cutting people up. And if people are going to ask me if I'm okay, if I'm all right, if I'm doing okay, if I'm sure that that's what I want to talk about, yeah, that's exactly what I want to write about. I want to write about, shit that is very controversial. Because let me tell you something, horror movies are awesome. And if any of my books get turned into a horror movie, I would be absolutely thrilled with that idea. I'm just saying. That's just how it is. If I were to get one of my books made into a movie, oh yeah. I think that everyone should actually buy one of my books, specifically because you could have the book before it's turned into a movie. Anyway, okay. Whatever. So anyway, in my thought process, when people ask me certain questions, there's one other thing that someone has said to me, and it's not even a question. It's just normally a statement where it's like, oh, what do you do for a living? Oh, I write books. Oh my God, I've always wanted to write a book. Okay. Always wanted to write a book. I'm so happy that you have always wanted to write a book. Great. I'm excited for you. Are you ever gonna do that? Oh, I don't know. It's too hard. Okay. I'm gonna show you hard. I'm gonna show you something that I have done. And I'm gonna make sure that it's far enough away to where it's not so much into where you can read. So I have, dang it, I need to figure out how to do this so you can't. Not my ISBNs. Oh, good. I'm gonna put it here because this is the Disbanding of Disciples. This is just where I need to write the synopsis for it. And you can't really see what any of the rest of this says anyway. So these are all of my books that I plan on writing here pretty soon. Let me see where my mouse is. Right here. Okay. So some of it is like this one here is just my also written by. So it's all of the books that I have written. Then we've got the assigned ISBNs, and then it starts here. Now here is Citizen's Assassin. That one has notes for my editing. That's where that is. And then everything else is other books that I will be writing soon. And you can actually see, let me get it close enough to where you can actually, let me try to, I think you can see the dates. If I move my fingers out of the way, you can see all the dates here of what is, when it's going to be published. I don't know if you can actually tell the dates, but those are all of the books that are going to be published. And then I have like an entire holiday collection of horror novels that are going to be published in 2030. So there is that. So I do have 12 books for 2030. There's going to be one book a year, or one book a month that year. So anyway, but I have an entire thing. And if I show you like my holiday collection. Okay. So this is my holiday collection. Okay. So these are all the books for my holiday collection. Each one of them, some of them have been fully plotted out. The first one has already been written. That's why it's so small. The rest of them have not been written yet. They're in the process of, I'm actually writing the second one this week. I just started it this week. So there's that. So the second one is in the process of being written because I just started it. But that's my thing though, is that is my holiday collection. I am writing those books now and I am excited to have that written. So for someone to say, oh, I've always wanted to write a book. Good for you. I'm so glad that you've always wanted to write a book. It's hard. It's hard to get started. It's hard to figure out where you want to go, if that makes sense, like where you actually want your story to go. Where you want your story to go, where you want your career to go. I think the hardest question basically is, do you make any money doing that? Why is that a question that you ask someone? Do you make any money doing that? Okay, that would be like me walking into anybody else's job and, asking somebody, hey, what is your job title here? And who cares what they say? And then go, do you make any money doing that? Why does that have to be a question? Why does that have to be a question? Why are you going to ask me if I make money doing what I do? That is so rude. So rude. There are certain things that are a lot worse than what I think has actually been said. So someone asking me, oh, are you okay? Or is that hard? Do you make any money doing that? Oh, I've always wanted to write a book. Come on. For real. Why do you write about that? Why would you want to write that? Or like what I've got someone who literally does not cross my mind 100 times a day, like they seem to think that they do. So this person seems to believe that anytime I kill a character, it's about them. It's really not. It's never about them in any way. Never. Roadkill Cafe, a little bit. But my thing is though, is that no, you do not cross my mind 100 times a day. I am literally, with Roadkill Cafe, I watch a lot of Karen videos. I watched a lot of hateful people. So no, it is not about you in any way. Oh, is it about me? Is it about me? It's not about you. It's never about you. Just because you believe that it is does not make it true. So essentially, there are a lot of things that people have said to me as a writer, author, whatever. Then there are other people where I tell them that they're like, oh, that's cool. They don't give a shit. They really don't care. It's awesome. Oh, that's cool. Those are the people that I'd rather, have a conversation with because they don't care. Great, cool. What can we talk about next? Because when you start asking me about what my books are about, I always go, dismemberment and disemboweling? Maybe. A little bit of something. Depends on what book you ask me about. They never ask how many books I have published. Never ask how many books I have published. They always assume it's like 1 or 2. I have 10. I have 10 books published. All of those right there. All of those are my books. I published all of those books. I have 10 books published. Of course, if you look through here, you can actually see on my bookshelf over there, there's most of my stock. Some of it is still in the back of my Jeep, which I have not brought in yet, but I do have an event this weekend. So it is in my Jeep because I have an event this weekend at the gas station in Bastrop. So there is that. It is on Saturday. They're bringing in the guy that played Jason from one of the Friday the 13th movies. So he will be there too. And a bunch of people that I know from my horror family that, live around there. But anyway, so the basic takeaway from this video is if you are not a writer, you're not an author, you don't write, you just read, do not ask certain questions. Do you make any money at that? Also, do not tell us that, oh, I've always thought about writing a book. That's great. You've thought about it. Okay, well, I did it. And I mean, I'm not trying to be like egotistical about it. I'm just saying. Okay, I'm glad that you've thought about it. I think that's cool. Well, when you've actually done it, let me know. And we'll see. You know what I mean? It's like that. That's great. Because I'm not going to have a conversation with you about your book. Because then it's almost as if you are wanting me to feel obligated to tell you about my books. And I'm not comfortable doing that since you have just told me that you have thought about being a writer. You've thought about writing a book. I'm not going to give you the idea. I've had people ask how I get my ideas, and I have no problem answering those questions. That's great. How do you get those ideas? Oh, everywhere. It's always vague. I get them everywhere. I get ideas everywhere. I will see a short 2-second snippet of, say, someone injecting someone with an antibiotic, an allergy, whatever. And all of a sudden now I have in my head how to kill somebody with a needle. It absolutely, whatever I watched has absolutely nothing to do with that. I watched the people take my blood every 6 months. No, 4 times a year. But I watch, it's because it's January, February, and then July and August. I watch them take my blood. But either way, beside the point. Okay, so I've watched them do it. I know exactly how to put those little vials in there and then just keep going. I'll just keep taking the blood. I mean, drain somebody of their blood in a clean way, right? I'm just saying. Miss Layla's coming to look out the window. I have the blinds open, just not up, so that she can't get up in the window and start getting all upset. But anyway, so here's the deal. If you are not an author and you come across an author, think about what you're about to say before you say it. Does it sound like a good idea? Certain questions I am more than happy to ask. What is the best way to get started? Take a notebook. Notepad, take something with you wherever you go. You will have an idea pop into your head out of nowhere. And can you get out your notepad app on your phone fast enough? Or is grabbing a pen and a pad way faster and writing it down? Because I'm going to tell you right now, your hand will go faster with a pen in it than your fingers will on your keyboard. Although it does for me. I don't know about some of you new kids nowadays, since you're texting constantly. My texting does not work that way. It will probably take me at least 5 minutes to reply when texting if it's longer than a sentence. But anyway, if you can text that fast, then great. Use your, the app on your phone, the notes app, blah, 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 whatever, right? Otherwise, it's always so much easier. Like what I used to do when I first started writing. Now that book that I first wrote is never going to be published, ever. It's in the back of my file cabinet, never going to see the light of day. I edited it so much that I hate it. I can't stand the book, and I'm never going to put it out there. But what I used to do is I would go outside. If it was raining, I'd go outside and I would write down the smell. What does it smell like? Is it musty? Does it smell like grass? Because you don't want to say in your book, essentially, sorry, a bird just flew by. You don't want to say in your book, essentially, that it smells like it's going to rain. Describe that. What does it smell like? What does the rain smell like? When you can know when it's going to rain, just describe that. What does the air smell like? Don't just say, oh, it smells like it's going to rain. Put more of a description. And sometimes my words are not coming to me. I'm better when I'm writing. But anyway, this is why I prefer to send text sometimes rather than actually being on the phone. But anyway, so if you think about it too, when it's like, as I stepped outside on the front porch, the musty scent of the moisture in the air wafted into my nostrils. That's just an example. That would say, oh, it's about to rain. If that is how you perceive what rain smells like, or what the air smells like right before it rains. I've actually sat in 4 different housing with different roofs. A vehicle, okay, a house with a regular shingled roof, a house with a tin roof, and a barn, to describe each way the rain sounds when it hits the roof of that specific entity, whatever, shelter type of thing. I've also sat in the rain under the trees and figured out how many times I would get hit with raindrops just from sitting under the trees. Am I being shaded or not shaded, protected from the rain? Is it guarding me from the rain? I mean, is that what it works? Oh, I hid underneath the trees as it rained. No, because the rain is actually dripping on those trees. And eventually when the wind blows, that wind then creates the shaking of the trees and the water drips off of the trees and now you're wet. So there's all that. Anyway, the best way to start a book is to get out there in the elements. Get outside. What does it feel like when it's hot? What does it feel like when it's cold? What does it feel like when it's raining? Smells. Get all your 5 senses out. What are you hearing? What are you seeing? What are you smelling? Of course, I'm not asking you to taste the air in any way, but get all of that out. I had a notebook that was literally called feelings. What kind of feelings do I get during these certain times of year? When I am in a specific situation. In the heat, I'm happier in the heat. I'm so happy in the heat because in the cold, I'm tired. I want to go to sleep. If I'm cold, I want to go to sleep. That's it, the end. I want to bundle up, I want to curl up, and I want to go to sleep. I like being in the heat. I would rather be outside in the heat, shorts and a tank top, swamp ass, smelling like onions, whatever, being outside in the heat. That's what I would rather be doing than being outside in the cold with snow. Fuck that. I hate the cold. Sometimes I will shiver so much that it will make me sick to my stomach and I will want to throw up. That's what I don't like about the cold. I want to bundle up and I want to go to sleep. Forget it. I don't want to be out there. I want to be in the heat. I love the summer. I live in Texas. It is hot 10 months out of the year. And I enjoy that. So that is where I get my feelings. How do I feel when it's raining? How do I feel when it's sunny? How do I feel when it's hot? How do I feel when it's cold? How do I feel when it's cloudy? Different things like that. That was the best way for me to describe to someone when they had asked me, how do I get started? Get yourself a notebook, go outside in the different elements, different times of the year, listen to the rain. How does it make you feel? What is the best way to get started? Figure out where your happy place is. That's the best answer to that question. Do I make money doing this? Yes, I do. Is it enough to live on? No, but I'm married and I have a husband who brings home enough to live on. I make enough to keep publishing at this point, but like I said, I've got 10 books published. Most people who end up making a full-time living out of writing their books are 15 or more. That I have noticed. So if you have 15 or more published books, that's generally where you make your living. I was actually told back in the early 2000s that you have to have at least 10 books published before you get noticed. So in other words, just keep going, keep writing, keep doing you. Do what makes you happy. If you want to write a book, write a book. That's great. If you're just thinking about it, okay, sorry. And I don't know if you just heard my dog groaning back there, but anyway, Kiki D's, what you doing? Sorry, she's the little one, so I can't really see her. Where's she at? Kiki D's. Oh, she's rubbing her face. That's what she's doing. So if you hear something fall over, it's because she's rubbing her face on some stuff and it's probably going to fall over. Anyway, that's what she's groaning about. Anywho, I'm going to go. I post new videos every Monday and Thursday. So like, comment, share, subscribe, or don't. I don't give a shit. Do whatever you want to do. Be you, be whoever you want to be. If you want to be a writer, great. I hope you made it this far in the video. Most of the time, nobody does, but that's okay with me. So whatever. Okay, bye.